The LA Clippers were in a bit of a trap game situation on Monday night against the Portland Trailblazers, and thankfully they came out with the win in what was a nail-biting game of high-powered offense from both teams. Was it bad defense? Was it just great Portland offense? We're going to break this one down, including another monster performance from Kawhi Leonard and James Harden winning the game on defense? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and going into, in my 19th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper and LA sports content. Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We're so close to 4K that I can taste it. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video. And this episode brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the best place to get last-minute deals on tickets, some great deals. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Well, Clipper Nation, that was not a comfortable game by any means. I was back in the arena on Monday night. It was so great to be there. Several people came up to me and said, they appreciate the show and they listen all the time and stuff. And man, that's the best feeling in the world. That's almost become as good as the wins for me because it's stuff that I'm actually doing, and it really feels good when you, the fans, appreciate it. Win or lose, we're in this together. Clipper Nation, I always say we are one of the most generous fan bases I've ever seen. Just genuinely good people in the fan base for the most part. So it's always great to hear that. But let's talk about the game, right? Big win. I had an amazing day today. My team won our first game that I coached, and the Clippers won. And both of them came against the officials in addition to the opposing team. I mean, there's no reason why this game should have been as close as it was, but the officiating. You guys know, anybody that listens to this show regularly, how much do I really blame officials for anything? I rarely get on them for things. But this was particularly horrendous, especially in the second quarter. The first quarter was actually exactly what you wanted to see from the Clips. We were all over the place defensively. Harden was creating a lot of decent shots for Zubac in the pick and roll. Zubac was, again, Zushak. He was Zushak again to start the game. He was everywhere defensively. He was finishing around the basket, put back dunks, going up strong. Terrence Mann hit a corner three. We were flying everywhere defensively. Kawhi was aggressive. It was just a really solid mix of things. Norman Powell, Russell Westbrook gave us some good stuff. But the Blazers started hitting shots towards the end of the quarter and went into the second quarter with a bit of momentum. Clippers won that first quarter, though, 43-32. Now, here's where the game changed for me, and that was in that second quarter. And one thing that Tyronn Lue and the coaching staff are going to be, and it is so weird. I don't mean to keep bringing this back to me, but it's so funny that this was a problem for the Clippers today, that they kept fouling three-point shooters, because my kids in the game I coached today fouled a three-point shooter 3 different times. I was losing it. So the parallels between both events that I had to attend on Monday were just insane, but crazy. The amount of jump shooting fouls the Clippers had was unacceptable, and you just know the coaching staff is going to be getting on them for that. In addition, the hostile act thing with Kobe Brown, I just don't understand this. I know that when Kawhi got injured by Zaza in 2017, Conference Finals Game 1, that they instituted the whole landing space rule, which if there's one person that's really abused that rule more than anyone, it's Harden over the years. But I'll tell you what, what constitutes a hostile act on those plays and just a regular foul because you don't let somebody land? They're just completely inconsistent with it. I did not see anything wrong with Kobe Brown's closeout for me to think that was a hostile act with malicious intent and that was anything out of the ordinary. And that felt like it was a 6-point swing. I mean, and after that, Simons, I got to give the Blazers credit though. Simons, Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, even Matisse Thybulle was hitting threes. Like the Blazers, the one thing we noticed from them on opening night when they were fully healthy, they had Ayton and Brogdon and Jeremy Grant. They had neither of those three in this one. So that's why I say it was such a trap game. Despite their record, they're already missing 3 of their best 6 players. 4 if you count the Time Lord. But has the Time Lord even, I don't think he's even played a game this season. Let me just double check that because I don't want to be giving you inaccurate information. He got injured early in the season. Let's see. The Time Lord has played a grand total of 6 games. So he did play in the beginning, right. So they had all those guys on opening night. That's why this felt like such a trap game. But despite the fact that, I mean, look, you can say that the defense got lazier in the second half and weren't as sharp as the second quarter, and weren't as sharp as the first quarter. Our effort wasn't great. We had some defensive breakdowns. There were some possessions where Norman Harden, who I actually thought had really solid defensive games for their standards, or just in general. But I specify in standards sometimes because it's like, sometimes when Harden's guarding Scoot Henderson at the point of attack, like I don't expect him to do something great. I expect Scoot Henderson to turn that corner and basically be on a downhill situation with Zoo having to play 2 guys. Norman Powell guarding Simons one-on-one, that's not ideal. I mean, there were a couple of times where I was like, man, why do we have these guys guarding him and it's not even a switch? And I think part of that was because, the Clippers are going really thin right now in terms of the amount of guys they're using. We're playing our players a lot of minutes. We played a 9-man rotation tonight, but Kobe Brown only got 5 minutes. So you're playing the other guys, you're only playing 8 other players. And Russell Westbrook has not been over 20 minutes a game for a couple of games. And that's because we've seen that he and Harden together is a disaster. But in this game, we saw a little bit of it to end the third quarter and to start the fourth, and it wasn't good again. And I'm going to reiterate, I don't think it's fully just that, but it doesn't necessarily ever look good. I will say that. And Russell Westbrook, even though I thought he was fantastic in this game outside of a couple bad turnovers, you can make a case that you could have closed with him or should have closed with him. But James Harden was playing really well too. So it becomes tough. Harden, we can see it after the trade. The Clippers basically are replacing Westbrook's role with Harden. So if they're both playing well, Harden's just going to get that tiebreaker, which is unfortunate for any Russ fans. But as long as the Clippers win, I'm okay with things, right? It was shaky. I think before everybody goes crazy about the Clipper defense, though, I think a large reason why this game was so close is because the Blazers just had an outlier shooting game. Like, they're not a good three-point shooting team, and they shot 47.5% from 3 on Monday night on 19 for 40 shooting. Like, that's a lot of three-point attempts. And granted, they generated good looks, but we're living with those a lot of times. And they were hitting everything. I mean, just amazing offense from their players. Simons is a very talented player, and he's going to have a huge green light. And since he's come back from injury, he's been playing well. And then you have Shaedon Sharpe, who had a filthy ankle breaker on Tice, by the way. He's a very talented player as well. So he is capable of having some big scoring games. And then Scoot Henderson was the one I was really the most impressed by because his jumper, that's the big, knock on him coming into the league. And you saw in the beginning, first couple of games, his jumper looked broke. This game, he looked very comfortable walking into pull-ups, hitting open threes. I think he may have only hit 1 3. Let me double check on that. No, he hit 3 of them. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it felt like that. So credit to the Blazers. They outscored the Clippers 33-23 in the second. Clippers went into the half up 66-65. Third quarter was just a barrage of scoring both ways. Clippers won at 39-34. We started to see Paul George guard Simons a little bit more, but the Clippers switched 1 through 4, and when Walker for the Blazers was playing the 5. Clippers were switching everything. Moses Brown, of course, a former Clipper. We had him on the team last year. For a second there, it was looking like a Moses Brown revenge game. And I was like, nah, this can't be happening. He had a very good game. Good for him. 6 points and 12 rebounds on 3 for 7 shooting in 16 minutes. It felt like, though, we just didn't go at him enough at times. As far as the end of the game, I was getting a little nervous. The minutes with Harden and Russ weren't very good. Having Harden, Russ, and Norm out there with Tice, it's not ideal at all. But Zubats, he's somebody who quieted down as the game went on. He was amazing in the first quarter. I was saying he was going to get 20 and 10 before tip-off, and it looked like he was on the way to doing that. But it seemed like he just kind of was quieted as the game went on. I think part of that was us not looking for him enough. But also, in the pick and roll, they were just starting to stay home on Zoo more and leave James Harden open for those floaters in mid-ranges. And he hit 1 or 2 of them, but he also missed a couple. But I like how he was keeping the defense honest and still looking to score when he has that opportunity. And speaking of which, down the stretch, Kawhi Leonard, he was every bit of that player that I've been saying in the last couple of episodes is starting to show that he's still that guy. Still one of the best players in the world and still the best player on this team. And after this game, I'm going to say that Kawhi and Paul George have been equal this season. I've been saying PG's been our best player for this whole time, but now I'm thinking it's pretty equal. By another game or two, it's going to start being that number 2. And that's what we need it to be. But Paul George, I don't think he was bad by any means. I think defensively he wasn't as strong as he normally is. His shooting from 3 was just not there tonight or on Monday night. 20 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, though. He was getting guys involved. He was making some really nice passes in the pick and roll. And there was this nice cross-court look he had for Norman Powell in the first half to the weak side corner for an open 3. That was fantastic. 7 for 17 for PG, 2 for 8 from 3. But every starter played 29-plus minutes, and PG played 41, and Kawhi played 39. Harden, 37. That's a lot of minutes. And Kawhi was asked after the game, how do you feel about that, all, this and that? And he said, well, when you play your best players a lot of minutes, you have a better chance of winning. Always simple and straight to the point from Mr. Leonard. And Mr. Leonard was that dude. Before we get into Mr. Leonard more, Paul George, big bucket to put the Clippers up 3 late with about 31 seconds left. Good play out of the timeout from Ty Lue. And then James Harden, I thought it was his best defensive game as a Clipper overall. And it's not just because he had, this is insane. He had 1 steal and 2 blocks, but I guarantee you he had more deflections than that. I thought I was going to look at the box score and James Harden would have 5 steals. But that poke away at the end, he's not going to get any credit for it in the stat sheet off Simons' foot. That sealed the game for the Clippers. So how many times have you said James Harden's won the game defensively for a team? The only time I can think of is that Game 7 against OKC. But coming up, going to be talking more about the performance and Mr. Leonard. I got to tell you a little something about Game Time. Game Time gets you the best deals on last-minute tickets to any big event. It doesn't have to be sports. It can be music. It can be comedy. It can be theater events. But, of course, if it's sports, we like that a lot as well. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. All you got to do is this. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA, so 2 N's, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Let's talk about Mr. Leonard, who's been playing at an extremely high level in the last couple of games. Clippers, by the way, let me read some stats. 4 straight wins, 5 out of the last 6, 9 out of the last 12, so 9-3 since we went with the new starting lineup of Terrence, Harden, Kawhi, Paul, and Zoo. 9-8 with James Harden, so now we're over 500 with the beard, and 12-10 on the season. Treading in the right direction. Remember, my last episode on Monday, it was about this homestand being important this week. 4 straight home games. Let's take care of business. They're not going to be easy. This was supposed to be the easiest one, and it wasn't easy. And we got Sacramento on Tuesday night. I won't be at the game, but that's going to be tough coming off a back-to-back because they are a young team that likes to run. People were telling me that Sacramento was on a back-to-back as well, and that is true. They played the Brooklyn Nets, so they were on a back-to-back. So it'll be both sets of probably a little bit of tired legs, but they're younger, so it favors them. We'll see how it goes, though. We've seen the Clippers have some really good performances on the second night of back-to-backs, particularly that Dallas game. But anyway, Kawhi, I love to see him getting going right away. And when the Blazers are conceding, switching 1 through 4, and they're letting Simons switch on to Kawhi, that's barbecue. So Kawhi had a couple of nice turnarounds, some mid-ranges, and then they were starting to hard double Kawhi at times. And I thought we did a pretty good job of moving the ball, finding the open man. Offensively, I just don't really have many complaints from players. I think Paul George has missed some threes, but everybody was really solid. I mean, when you have 6 guys in double figures and Terrence Mann with 9 points, you'll take that all day long. Kawhi had 34 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, including a huge steal late in the game, tipping the ball on a pass. And that, I don't want to say sealed the deal, but it felt like we were home safe when he did that. And he just continues to play at a very high level, which is exactly what we want to see. He's played every single game, and so has Paul George, 22 straight. Knocking. I'm still knocking. This knocking, it's been working so far. Now I'm going to knock again when I say that. But you love to see it. Any Clipper fan should be excited about the way Kawhi's trending right now. He was also pretty good in the fourth quarter too. Actually very good. I was a little worried at the end though, because we know the last 2 minutes sometimes, Kawhi as a Clipper, he looks like he kind of runs out of legs or fatigues a little bit easier than before. In this game, he had a 3 that I thought was going to seal the game, that it was short, and I was like, oh man, here we go again. But funny enough, coming out of that timeout with about 40 seconds left, I still wanted the ball in Kawhi's hands. But we went to Paul George, and he made a play. And then James Harden made a play. James, I just thought he was super active defensively off the ball, had very good moments of nice utilization of his hands, steals, interceptions, deflections. Of course, that last poke that went off Simon's foot won us the game. But what really impressed me about James on defense in this game was that they tried to go at him with Simons plenty, and he stood his ground. For the most part, he didn't get burned. I mentioned one possession where he died on a screen against Henderson, but come on, that's being nitpicky. He was holding his own against a very good player in Simons. So you might be thinking, like, how can you be giving so much praise to these guys defensively when we allowed 127 points against that team? Listen, these are NBA players, and it's very hard to guard spread pick and roll. You have to give something up if you're not switching, and we don't switch our bigs. So you have to give up open threes unless you want to give up layups and runners. And they're not a good shooting team. So the scheme is designed to allow them to shoot those threes, and they just so happen to shoot above what they normally do. And that caused problems. But I think that second quarter, man, the officiating was egregious. It was insane. Zach Zarba, John Goble, I'm calling them out by name. It was so bad. It was horrific, in my opinion. The Clippers, they need to be more disciplined. But man, so frustrating. Big plays down the stretch, though. I got to mention free throw shooting from the Clippers. Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, Paul George, and Kawhi knocked down big free throws late in the game. Terrence Mann, who Ty went with to close in this game over Norm and Russ, and I thought he performed. And I think Terrence has been better of late. And one thing you like to see was that 9 points on 50% shooting. The three ball, he made his first one, but he missed his next three. 1 for 4 overall. Still really struggling in that department. But again, the proof is in the pudding. We're 9-3 with Terrence Mann starting. And he really does help our defense at the point of attack. As I've said many times, I don't think he's some lockdown defender, but he's high effort, has good instincts, and is always going to give his 100%. And that's why he gets one of the loudest cheers of anybody when he's introduced in games. And speaking of some of the loudest cheers when they're introduced in games, Russell Westbrook. I thought he was really solid in his minutes, adding that downhill burst that we love to see, better defensively than, our teams at times when Russ is surrounded by the right guys. Okay, I'm just not going to sugarcoat it. Russ is an upgrade on defense over Harden, but Monday night's not necessarily the night to say that because Harden's defense, I have really no quarrels with it. But Russ does give us more athleticism, more pace, more defense than Harden. It's just two different things. Harden, on one hand, gives us more shooting, and I think I trust the ball in terms of taking care of it more with Harden, and pick and roll play, it's no debate. James Harden is one of the best pick and roll players the game has ever seen. But I like what Russ brings. It's different, and he really makes plays. And you can't tell us unless you're at the games. He makes plays that really energize the building. And that matters in a momentum-based game like basketball. Westbrook was efficient as well. He hasn't been very efficient lately. But in this game, he took good shots. I don't even remember him shooting more than 2 threes in this game. Let me see. 2 threes, and he was 1 for 2. Perfect. 5 for 7 from the field, 12 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists. My favorite play he had was when he got a rebound, quick outlet to Kawhi, who fed it to Paul George, or it may have been Paul George to Kawhi. We had a couple of nice moments on the fast break with multiple passes being made. That just put a huge smile on my face. And I think, obviously, with Russell Westbrook, our pace is better. Very solid, efficient game from Brody. The 4 turnovers, though, that's got to be limited. Just some unnecessary ones. We had 9 turnovers as a team, so he almost had half of them. So want to keep that down, but overall, I liked what I saw from Russ, and I felt bad for him that he didn't close. And he did share the court with Harden a bit. Like, Ty Lue tried it. I don't know why Ty was so desperate to bring Harden in at that point, personally. I think 37 minutes, like, we're playing this guy a lot. But if we're winning games, I got no issue. Remember what Paul George said about load management last year, that he thinks that it's working against the players? Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like that's particularly true, but I'm also not going to sit here and say that he's wrong about talking about his own body. And back in the day, when teams practiced harder and played every game, they got injured less. Now, I know the game has changed. There's a lot more space to cover on the half court. The pace has gone back up, back to like mid to early 90s pace, maybe even late 80s. But before that, it was even faster than now, if you really know your history. But on a given possession, you have to cover more ground today. But we've done things, medical advances, and we've done so many things to try to reduce that stuff, injuries and the load. People don't play as many minutes as before. We have much better care and flights and all that. I can go on all day. But the point is, right now, I'm not going to complain that they're getting heavy minutes when we're winning games. That's all I got. But coming up, going to be talking more about the specifics, offensively, defensively, and just rounding it out, reading some of the stat lines. Clippers with a big one, 132-127. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. As the weather gets colder, and man, I had to wear a hoodie at the game on Monday night. The NFL offers Stay Hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Now, I was so tempted to say that you should bet on the over for the Clippers before this game. It was like a plus 12 or something. So I was like, yeah, let's just bet for a 20-point blowout. Thank God I didn't say that. But remember what I said about the Clippers championship odds? We were 10th place going into Tuesday or Monday. I would take those. I'd put the bet. 10th place? All right, we're trending in the right direction. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and start the NBA season the right way and continue the NFL season the right way. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, so offensive and defensive specifics. Offensively, I thought the ball movement was good. I thought, as I said, you can't really critique many guys. I thought that curl play with Norman Powell going to his right that we've seen so much since he's become a Clipper with Zeus hitting the screen started getting us some good stuff in that second half with Norm hitting those floaters. And I think Norm, he's just very solid in his role. And he had some big-time blocks in this game. 2 blocks from Norm, including one in the first half from behind on a dunk attempt that just came out of nowhere. 16 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks, and 0 turnovers on 66% shooting and 50% from 3 and 100% from the line. That's Norman Powell's stat line. 6 for 9 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, 2 for 2 from the line in 25 minutes. You can't ask for much better from Norm. Kobe Brown. I don't got much to say except for he needs to stop fouling jump shooters. It feels like he's had one of those per game. And I think that's part of the reason why Ty Lue had a short leash with him. But 5 minutes, that's nothing. And then there was a report that came out on Monday that P.J. Tucker's unhappy with his role. That's unfortunate because I was hoping P.J. Tucker could be like a Udonis Haslem kind of presence on our team. But clearly he thinks he's still capable of playing somewhere and getting good minutes. I don't agree with that unless their team's bad. I don't think P.J. Tucker offers much besides the occasional offensive rebound anymore. He was never a guy that could put the ball on the floor. He's not getting as much elevation on his corner 3, so they're all short. And defensively, he's nowhere near the same player, and that was what he specialized in. Brandon Boston, by the way, is back from injury. I wouldn't mind seeing Ty Lue try Brandon Amir. In a small ball league, now that we have Tice, why can't we try Amir at the 3 with Kawhi or Paul, one of them in at the 4? We already are playing Kawhi and Paul at the 4 at times. Amir's not bad, and he helps defensively and in transition. I think Amir would be really good with Russ, actually. Food for thought. Defensively, as I said, look, the Clippers have been playing really solid defense lately. Good defense, one of the best in the league. I have been saying, though, that I think that I don't see a great defensive team yet. I see a good one. And I think in this game, my point was proven a little more. But it's all about the long haul, building reps. And it just felt like at times Ty Lue, having that Norm, Russ, Harden lineup, and it just felt like there were some possessions where guys that weren't our stronger defenders were guarding some of their better offensive players. Not even on a switch. And that hurt us. But as long as you come out with the win, that's all that's important. I want to emphasize that. It's all about coming out with the win. You're not going to always get pretty wins in the NBA. You've got to get the ugly ones. And offensively, this was a pretty game. But in terms of a Clipper fan, it was not a pretty game. You had the rough officiating. You're allowing so many points to this team. Zubats quieted down as the game went on. But we got the job done. Let's talk about Zubats. 18 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks. I would like to see the rebounds higher, but let's see what the rebounding battle was overall. 36-35 in favor of Portland. No big deal. Usually Zoo rebounds better than that. 9 for 13 from the field for him in 33 minutes. Really efficient, really solid. At times it felt like we should get him the ball more on switches when they had their bigs guarding our perimeter players and smaller players guarding him. Terrence Mann, 9 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, no turnovers, so a little bit of everything. And one thing Terrence is really good at is when he's attacking closeouts, he makes good reads in terms of passes. 3 for 6 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and 2 for 2 from the line. Daniel Tice, he hit an open 3, but that was his only shot he made. He was 1 for 3 from the field. 3 points, 1 steal, 1 block in 14 minutes. Thought he was on the quieter side in this one. But of course, without him, we'd be going small with Kawhi or Paul George or Kobe Brown at the 5 or PJ Tucker. And that is not it. So Daniel Tice, just his presence out there makes a difference. Then James Harden. Thought he was pretty awesome in this game. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Not really much over dribbling for me. The only thing I'll say is he struggled to get by some of the bigs that switched on to him. Duop Reith, who I'd never even heard of, by the way. Jabari Walker. He struggled at times to get by those guys. And sometimes he didn't even look to get by them. And I want to see him try to. But there was one time where he rejected a screen against Simons and dunked. So it was nice to see Harden dunk. But I got to give Harden credit for the big defensive play at the end of the game. He had 20 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, so almost a triple-double. 1 steal, 2 blocks, 3 turnovers, so 7 of our 9 turnovers came from Russ and Harden, which is typical. He shot 50% from the field and 3. 7 for 14 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he made all 3 of his free throws. So very good performance by the Beard. And I already mentioned Kawhi, 34. He's my player of the game. 34 points, 6 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals, only 1 turnover, 11 for 19 shooting. Super efficient, and he had the most shot attempts with Paul George second and James Harden third, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. 11 for 19, 3 for 8 from 3, 9 for 9 from the line. This was my favorite stat of the game right here. Clippers, it's not that they shot 55%, not that they shot 38% from 3, not that they kept their turnovers under 10, not that they scored 132 points, but that they shot 95.5% from the free throw line. The only miss was Westbrook. 95.5%. That's going to win you games. Big win, 4 in a row. Clipper Nation, tell me how you're feeling in the comments. And remember to subscribe to Locked On Clippers. We are almost at 4K, and I can taste it. We're trending in the right direction. We're 8-3 at home. Not a sellout in this one, 90%. Of course, the Blazers are not a team that's going to put butts in the seats. But come on, guys. Let's get to the games. We have a super team. We have 4 Hall of Fame guys. And we're starting to win games. Let's get to the games. I will not be at the one on Tuesday, though, ironically. I have a conflict, but I will be there on Thursday. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where, of course, a vlog of the game and fans' thoughts after the game will be on the channel on Tuesday morning. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers. Kawhi Leonard.